Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with
Ted.
And today we have a GM 911 for you. Drowning, plague, and mind control. I think this DM has it in for his players.
If you have a GM 911, you can send those over to us at nerdarchy@gmail.com.
So Gleamary?
Something like that. Sorry if we mispronounce it.
As a GM 911, and he actually has like a lot of questions, multi-part questions. So
Well, there's a lot of information, but the bulk of it is he has an Aboleth, and he wants that to be the big bad evil guy of his campaign, and he's having a hard time finding information on how to properly use an Aboleth.
Well, there's that component. Then he has a rival faction component. Then he also wanted to have the Aboleth using like Illithid servitors and controlling them. But his players are terrified of Mindflayers, and he feels like the Illithids can't be controlled. And he also wanted to know what kind of equipment and stuff would the players need to assault an Aboleth lair, and what does that look like, and what does the last fight look like. So there's a ton of stuff. One, he's got two different factions, Aboleth and this organization. One wants a rod of 7 parts to flood the world. The other one wants to do like disease and plague and stuff like that to the world. So both are bad. They both need the same thing. Not a big deal. That's easy enough.
So now the Aboleth has control of the Church of Flayer.
Yes, it's infiltrated it. Yes.
So he's got the ability to work behind the scenes as this church without being revealed as an Aboleth. Whereas the other group, the one that's trying to cause plague, they're more out in the open about it.
Right.
So how do we go about helping this guy out?
All right. First of all, you can absolutely use the Illithid, and actually a fun way to use Illithid is actually make them weaker. Your players are expecting full-blown Mindflayers, but if the Aboleth has gotten a hold of a bunch of them and been experimenting on them and making them more pliable and usable, I would actually just make weaker Illithids or mutated Illithids, or Illithids that have been modified, and use them against your players, because you're going to have the psychological effect of them thinking they're fighting full-blown Mindflayers. They want to run from them, but it turns out that these are actually
weaker.
Yeah, they're actually weaker. I would use subtle clues, change their appearances a little bit.
Give them extra tentacles.
Maybe some extra tentacles. If you look in the Vol's Guide to Monsters, there's actually like there's either 1 or 2 deep 1 monster types that are actually work really well for servants. As far as the lair, anything underwater is going to work, or underground is going to work.
So if you're going underground and then going underwater besides, they're going to need something to be able to stay underwater and be able to breathe. So once they figure out that they're going up against an Illithid, something that's going to allow them to breathe underwater is going to be a required item.
It's like you have to get there underwater, but once you're there, it brings you to a chamber where there's air or whatever, or catacombs where there's air. That would be a cool place to introduce like a magic submarine, if you wanted to have fun with that. Or
can it be yellow?
It can be if it needed to be. Or maybe a magic creature that is like a whale or something like that can bring them there in its mouth and deposit them. It's that time of year, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the Island of Misfit Toys.
Yeah.
So you could definitely work some things like that. In order to get this interplay between the two organizations, what you're going to need is a list of objectives for each of them for getting the rod, which probably don't necessarily mean get the rod, right? So it might be like a map to a place that might be where the rod is, and having a break-in where there's a battle between maybe these two forces, right? And maybe that's even the first clue. Or maybe each side gets half the map. So they need to get the other half from the other ones, or they're kind of like doing this guesswork. And like the PCs investigate, and they realize that the map's been taken, and
there's even a section out of the middle that neither of them got.
You could do something like that, or maybe there's another copy somewhere that neither of them knew about, and the players can get a hold of it.
There you go.
And so then you have the 3 factions kind of like racing to get it. Maybe like neither side is able to clean up the aftermath of the battle fast enough, so the players could come upon the carnage, and then clearly there was 2 sides fighting, maybe 3 sides, maybe the people guarding the map initially, and then the 2 different organizations that are fighting over. So these could all be clues to what's going on. Maybe certain alchemy regents are being stolen in great quantities or being purchased legally, but so much so that it's creating a bit of a stir and people know about it, and it's just kind of odd.
Maybe the alchemical items that are being used, they do have other purposes, and now the town is suffering because
There's a shortage.
There's a shortage. Even at the outrageous prices that the merchants were charging because of the low supply, it was still being bought.
That could be perhaps ships are being stopped coming into port, and they're being robbed for weird things. Like they're leaving this valuable stuff but taking this other stuff like magical apparatus or something along those lines. Just something to clue your players on that something weird is going on. Or maybe gnomes have created these diving suits, right? And this other organization is actually robbing the gnomes to get the diving suits so they can wage their war against the Aboleth.
Well, since Aboleths are known to be in water and they're mind affecting things, what if the sailors are coming into port and they don't know that something's been missing, and it's clear that their memory has been modified? The manifests are there saying the stuff should be there, and yet it's not, and no one knows why.
Right. So you can do all this stuff that creates these clues for your players to investigate. And it's just a matter of coming up with these different items. And by items I don't necessarily mean things, but
the objectives.
Yeah, the different objectives that the enemies are each vying for that are going to tip your players off, let them know something's going on.
And the other thing is to look at what methods are these different groups or organizations, what are they willing to use? So if you've got Aboleths, Mindflayers, and other creatures that are going to do things not by force, and then you've got the underworld organization that wants to cause a plague, and they are willing to do it by force, the players can hopefully be able to pick up on these clues that one thing is happening, the one side, and one thing is happening over here, and the clues begin to fall into place. Okay, these are different groups going after different things at different times using different methods.
Here's a third thing. What if this Aboleth has come up with a way to kind of defeat Mindflayers relatively easily, and so now they're easy prey, easy victim to the Aboleth and his minions? So what if an Illithid, a Mindflayer, approaches the party either in its form or disguise to kind of tip them off that this is going on?
It's got to have a disguise.
Just the sense that the Illithids actually need a cat's paw in order to use against the Aboleth, who is now taking their people and converting them to whatever he's converting them to. And you can come up with something in your game. But right there's a couple ideas for you to investigate, a couple ways to tip your players off. And I feel like you have some good adventure and quest seeds to work with that your players can take into all kinds of crazy different directions.
I agree. So what do you guys think? Do you have any other things that we want to miss or you want to expand upon it? It's a great spot for that down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So until next time, stay nerdy.